Money doesn't just shape our lifestyle, it shapes our decisions, our habits, and even our identity. And yet, the biggest financial gap between people isn't income, it's behavior. Today, we're diving into the subtle but powerful differences between the habits of people who struggle financially and the habits of those who build long-term wealth. These are not secrets reserved for the elite. They are patterns anyone can learn, apply, and transform into real change. Let's start with mindset, because every financial action begins long before money exchanges hands. People who constantly feel stuck often believe that money is something that happens to them. They see it as a force outside of their control. When something goes wrong, a bill, a setback, an unexpected expense, they feel attacked by their finances as if money is an enemy. On the other hand, people who build wealth view money as a tool they can master, shape, and direct. Instead of reacting to every financial problem with panic, they respond with strategy. They don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" They ask, "How do I solve this?" This simple shift turns financial chaos into financial control. Next, let's talk about one of the biggest differences: short-term thinking versus long-term planning. People who struggle financially often make decisions aimed at immediate comfort. It might be buying something small to feel better, avoiding a difficult conversation about debt, or postponing planning because it feels overwhelming. Meanwhile, people who build wealth think in terms of months, years, and even decades. They understand that small actions compound over time. They choose discipline today to achieve freedom tomorrow. Not perfection, discipline. They know that the future version of themselves deserves better, so they act accordingly. Another powerful difference lies in how people handle information. Those who stay financially stuck often avoid learning about money because it feels complicated or intimidating. They rely on guesswork, assumptions, or whatever advice they happen to hear from friends or social media. This leads to decisions that feel good in the moment, but have hidden long-term consequences. Wealth builders take the opposite approach. They seek clarity, not comfort. They actively learn about budgeting, investing, saving, and taxes. They watch content, read books, and follow reliable sources. They don't need to become experts, but they commit to understanding the basics. Because when you understand the rules, you can play the game with confidence. Let's move on to habits around spending. People who struggle financially tend to focus on what something costs per month rather than what it costs in the long run. They choose subscription after subscription, small purchases that feel harmless, and financing options that seem convenient. But convenience today becomes pressure tomorrow, and eventually, the weight becomes overwhelming. Those who build wealth think differently. They ask whether a purchase improves their life or just entertains their impulses. They calculate total cost, not monthly cost. They delay gratification when needed, not because they never enjoy life, but because they know every dollar has a destination. Their spending has intention, direction, and purpose. And then comes resilience. When financially struggling individuals face setbacks, it often derails them completely. One emergency becomes a crisis. One mistake becomes a spiral. They feel defeated, as if they've failed permanently. Meanwhile, wealth builders treat setbacks as data, not as identity. They adjust, refine, and move forward with renewed awareness. Now let's explore one of the most overlooked differences: environment. People who struggle financially often surround themselves with influences that normalize overspending, impulsive behavior, and a lack of planning. It might be friends who constantly encourage buying the newest thing, or social feeds filled with lifestyles that create pressure to keep up. Without realizing it, their environment shapes their choices more than their goals do. People who build wealth are intentional about what they allow into their world. They follow creators who teach financial wisdom, join communities that value growth, and spend time with people who encourage better habits. They build an environment where smart decisions feel natural, not difficult. Their surroundings work in their favor, not against them. Another key difference lies in time management. Financially struggling individuals often underestimate how much time they lose to distractions. Hours spent scrolling, watching random content, or avoiding tasks that feel uncomfortable. Over time, this steals opportunities for learning, planning, and improvement. Wealth builders treat time as an asset. They dedicate small, consistent blocks to improving their financial life. 10 minutes reviewing expenses, 15 minutes learning something new, a few minutes updating goals. These micro habits accumulate into massive change, not because each task is large, but because they repeat them consistently. Let's talk about responsibility. People who struggle financially often feel like their situation is a result of luck, fate, or external forces they can't control. This mindset keeps them stuck because it removes their ability to take action. But wealth builders embrace ownership. Even when circumstances are difficult, they focus on what they can change, not what they can't. This sense of control becomes the foundation for every improvement they make. Now let's shift to how each group approaches goals. People who struggle financially tend to keep their goals vague. They say things like, "I want to save more," or "I want to get out of debt," but without a clear number, timeline, or plan. Vague goals create vague results. Without direction, it becomes easy to lose motivation and even easier to fall back into old habits. Wealth builders set goals that are measurable and trackable. They decide exactly how much they want to save, by when, and how they'll do it. They break big goals into small steps, making progress feel achievable instead of intimidating. This structure keeps them consistent, even when motivation fades, because the plan itself carries them forward. Another important difference is how people react to opportunities. Those who struggle financially often underestimate themselves. They assume opportunities are for other people with more money, more education, or more experience. This mindset stops them from exploring new income sources, asking for raises, or pursuing growth. Wealth builders, however, act on opportunities even when they feel unprepared. They understand that no one starts perfectly ready. They ask questions, seek guidance, and take small steps. This willingness to try opens doors that would otherwise remain closed. Over time, small opportunities compound into bigger ones. Let's touch on emotions. People who struggle financially often let emotions drive their decisions. Stress leads to impulse purchases. Fear prevents investing. Guilt stops them from budgeting. Emotions become the steering wheel. But wealth builders use emotions as signals, not instructions. They acknowledge the feeling, but they let logic choose the action. This emotional awareness protects them from decisions that feel good temporarily, but harm them long-term. Now let's talk about consistency, one of the biggest dividers between those who stay financially stuck and those who build wealth. People who struggle often take action only when they feel motivated or when something goes wrong. They start a budget after a financial scare, save money only when they remember, or try to change everything in one burst of effort. But because the effort isn't consistent, the results fade quickly. Wealth builders understand that small, steady progress beats intense but short-lived bursts of action. They create routines that are simple enough to repeat every week, no matter what. Reviewing expenses, adjusting budgets, learning something new. These small, repeatable habits create long-term stability. Consistency turns knowledge into results. Another major difference is communication. People who struggle financially often avoid talking about money, even with themselves. They ignore bills, skip checking balances, or wait until problems become urgent. This avoidance creates stress and removes the chance to make informed decisions early. Wealth builders face the numbers directly. Whether the situation is good or bad, they track their finances consistently. This honesty gives them clarity and control. They know where their money goes, what needs to change, and how to adjust before small issues turn into big problems. Finally, let's talk about belief. People who struggle financially often assume that wealth is for others, that they're too late, too behind, or too limited to change their financial future. But wealth builders believe progress is always possible. They focus on growth, not perfection. And that belief becomes fuel for every habit, every decision, and every improvement that follows. So what does all this mean? The differences between people who struggle with money and those who build wealth are not about luck, talent, or background. They are about habits, simple, repeatable habits that shape how they think, how they plan, and how they act. And the most important thing to understand is that these habits are learnable. Anyone can adopt them, starting from any situation, at any age, with any income. When you begin shifting your mindset from reaction to intention, everything changes. You start seeing money not as a source of stress, but as a system you can control. You start making choices that align with your future instead of your fears. You recognize that even the smallest action, saving a few dollars, learning one concept, reviewing one habit, creates momentum. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Wealth is not built in dramatic moments. It's built quietly, consistently, through small decisions repeated over and over again. The difference between staying stuck and moving forward is not the size of your steps, but the direction you take. So start today. Set one clear financial goal. Learn one new thing about money. Remove one bad habit that's holding you back. Build one good habit that moves you forward. Over time, these small shifts will redefine your relationship with money and reshape your financial future. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, consider diving deeper into your financial education. The more you learn, the more control you gain. And remember, your future wealth begins with the choices you make today.